It's lights out, everybody, and welcome back to the Low Downforce podcast, the For Friend Formula One podcast. And all of us are back on the pod. You've got all four of us. Thank you to Matt and J9 for holding down the fort. Josh and myself, Ben, we are fresh off of COVID. We if you count how many times we're drinking water to keep our throats able to make it through this episode. But we're coming off one of the most intensive races. So we went through hell, Josh, you and I. The drivers just went through hell in Singapore. It was a crazy race. Maybe not as crazy as some of the Singapore night races that we're used to, but we might as well jump right into it, get everybody's thoughts on, was it good? Maybe it wasn't as good as we thought. J9, I feel like you're usually the most critical, so I'm going to jump to you first. Lay it on me. 1 through 10, 0 through 10, negative 10 through 10. What did you score this Singapore edition?
Honestly, I'm torn. I'm giving it a solid 5 because I didn't watch it live, and so I watched the results come in later and saw what happened in qualifying and then in the race itself. And I was like, cool, nothing changed. Like, it wasn't really that big of a deal. I feel like looking at the quality results, it was the race results. And so my first reaction was like, cool, nothing happened. Don't need to watch it. But of course I did. And just looking at everything, there was nothing that really stood out to me as like, wow, this was such a good race. I would not tell any of my friends, like, man, you got to go watch videos and highlights and recap of what just happened in that race. Like, it was fine. But on the other hand, we had George Russell taking first. I really like a good Mercedes win there. And just kind of even just mixing it up, even if it wasn't Mercedes, I still would have been happy not having McLaren win and having Russell and Verstappen up front. That was great to see. And so I think for that, it's pushing it a little bit higher than the original, maybe like 1 or 2 that I'd give it, because at least we got some differentiating winners there. But overall, it wasn't the most exciting, nor was it my favorite race of the season. Does that really recap for everybody?
Yeah, I was going to give it a 6, like slightly better than you, but like there was some exciting stuff, and I think we'll have some good talking points. Obviously, my stats kind of go up and down with Ferrari's performance, which was very subpar.
Yeah.
McLaren also didn't do great, but won the Constructors Championship, so I guess you two can take that away, Matt and Ben. McLaren fans. And there's a little drama, but you wouldn't have known if you were watching the broadcast because they didn't show anything.
Yeah.
So
I also think that
I'm going to talk about that later.
The drama that came up between between McLarens, and we can talk about it. I just thought it was overhyped. I'm like, guys.
Oh, don't you worry. I will be full fucking ranting about this later. So don't you
worry. Our listeners, get ready.
I went right with you.
I'll just be on the side of
Josh, I went right with you, 6 out of 10. Because, you said, both of you said, nothing crazy special happened. Obviously, the drama stemmed from kind of the opening lap shakeup, if you will. But I think it hurt that Singapore's usually a banger. Last year it wasn't, so maybe we were a little protected, a little shielded from expecting it to be ridiculous. Last year was the first time ever that Singapore didn't have a safety car. Once again, no safety car this year. But if I'm going to get a boring race or a more status quo race, there's something about night race on a street circuit where, Max Verstappen made a mistake. You saw him closing on George Russell and then made a mistake. You saw Lando Norris closing on Max Verstappen and then made a mistake. And so it's one of those things where the mistakes can be so much more punishing. Seeing the drivers, even tapping the wall at different points just to kind of follow the car in front of them, at least makes it more interesting than kind of a status quo race where it's not really that difficult to follow the racing line and push it to the limit. So I guess it kind of recovers a little bit of its edge there. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. As you said, Josh, McLaren Constructors Championships back to back for the first time since they four-peated with Ayrton Senna. That would be 1988, 89, 90, and 91. So before all of us were alive, I know obviously we were having similar conversations last year when McLaren won their first Constructors Championship pretty much in our lifetime, or literally within a year of us being born. But it's cool to see the team you cheer for go back to back. We're all from Atlanta. We're mostly Atlanta sports fans, and boy, do we not have a lot of championships. So happy one of my teams got one.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm right up there with you, Ben. Great to see the team walk away with the Constructors Championship. I was actually, I think, most interested at, throughout the rest of the race after we had that beginning drama. Just in some of the midfield battles, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. That half point being the fact that McLaren did win. I don't think they had a perfect weekend by any means, but it was enough to seal the deal.
And that brings us to the race recap. Josh, I know you already mentioned a little bit of pain with Ferrari. They still double points, though, so why don't you break it down for us exactly how the results ended?
Points.
I feel like Ferrari should be much better than just double points. But anyways, George Russell got the win, like we said, after taking pole. Max second, Lando third after overtaking Piastri on the opening lap, which there was plenty of controversy around. Piastri finished fourth right behind him. Kimi Antonelli 5. Charles Leclerc 6th. Fernando Alonso 7. Lewis 8th. Ollie Behrman 9th. And Carlos Sainz with a very good drive that also wasn't broadcasted on TV to get the last point in 10. And coming off the podium for him, too, 2 races ago now, I guess. So Carlos Sainz, back-to-back points.
Shout out J9 for getting it absolutely spot on. Calling P10, saying he would regress a little bit. I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen to our predictions episode. But we might have... I predicted who finished P9. I think somebody else predicted who finished P11. Like, we were all right around it. And J9, obviously, the winner, chicken dinner with Sainz spot on, picking up the 1 point.
That's right. I don't think we got any other predictions correct.
Matt got his hot take.
I meant like position-wise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody else got any other of the pole, P10, or podium correct. Matt's hot take of no safety car was the only other points, apart from you, J9, predicting Sainz 10th.
Wait, but I was surprised that, didn't I predict McLaren's would kind of get into it? I think I predicted that one would crash out, but I was still shocked that little part was correct about it. I'm not asking for points like others have done on previous episodes. Definitely not doing that, but I just thought that was really intriguing that they did have a little skirmish, and I was like, wait, I said something about that. I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah, I feel like their skirmish was like the main talking point, apart from later, which was like Lewis and Fernando Alonso, which Fernando was very mad after the race. But I feel like we should talk about the McLaren stuff first.
Yeah,
congrats on winning the championship.
Well, just to I guess put a bow on that for now and get to it later. Hamilton finishes P7, on track, picks up a 5-second penalty for track limits. He basically cut every corner on the last lap.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Fernando Alonso, who's chasing him down. Obviously, Hamilton had a brake issue. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit, but that demotes Hamilton to P8. And then, as we said, no DNFs. But, Josh, you were hinting at it. The McLaren drama is obviously the talking point, which is crazy because they win the Constructors Championship. It's an incredibly celebratory period. They become only the second constructor to win 10 Constructors titles, and yet that's not the McLaren news that anybody is talking about.
Yeah, I feel like Piastri wanted absolutely no part in celebrations. Like I mentioned earlier, Lando overtook him on the opening lap, but Lando got a good start, but in the overtake on Piastri, he bumped into Max in front of him and then also bumped into Oscar Piastri. And I feel like the number one rule of Papaya Rules is don't hit each other. And Oscar was very upset about it. And McLaren's done this swap positions instructions like all the time to keep it fair. And Oscar Piastri did not think it was very fair. I'm curious, Matt and Ben, your opinions as McLaren fans. Ben, you're going to side with Lando because you're a Lando fan. But
I'll let Matt go first. I definitely side with Lando, but I think it's more team blame than a specific driver blame. But Matt, you weigh in first.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll get into this more too as we get through the episode. But to be honest, the rule is don't, the do what you need to, except for don't have any contact with your teammate, right? And I think this is what the third, maybe fourth incident where the team has kind of said, what are we going to do about our own team rules? I feel like not upholding the rules as they're stated for me is a bit tough to see. I think that in all fairness, yes, it's not like one of those things where just give the position back. I think Oscar had a big enough gap between him and Lando at that point. You can't really just give the spot back. At the same time, Lando's been given favorable positions in the past, especially with the whole incident. Was it Hungary where the pit stop, where Lando had a slow pit stop and Oscar had to give the place back. Oscar's handling it well, I think, but I don't know. I mean, I can see how from the outside, from a non-McLaren standpoint, this just seems to be really frustrating, and I'm a bit frustrated myself. But I mean, what am I going to say? If we get the points that we get, I really can't complain too much.
I mean, I think this whole situation, as J9 I think hinted at the beginning of the episode, is very blown out of proportion. And I think the reason that's the case is that the incident is basically a non-incident. Like, I mean, even the FIA didn't even need to investigate it, the amount of contact they had. But Matt was starting to hit the nail on the head there. Is all of this drama exists because of the way these quote-unquote papaya rules have been handled in the past. And so this just gets added to this catalog of what is fair, what isn't fair. And now McLaren is reaching a tricky situation where they've created so many like addendums to the rules every time a new situation comes up, that are they going to be able to race? How can they race? All of this stuff. But I'm also like frustrated in the sense that, this was, at least in my time watching, we always mock how bad Lando is at starts. And the fact of the matter is this is probably Lando's best start in his career, at least since I've been watching. He was aggressive. I mean, he damaged his car more than either Max's or Oscar's. There was very minimal contact. He winds up being, damaging his front wing end plate, winds up not being an issue for the race. But, I mean, the info is right there. It's 3 corners into the first lap. We know it's a tight street track. The FIA doesn't even investigate this. As J9 said, it is a non-incident. If anything, this to me was the most egregious example of like the double standard of, if Max pulls this move on a lap, people are hailing it as one of the best starts of the season. Like, so great to get around both McLarens. And Josh, you mentioned he gets around Oscar Piastri. He also beats Kimi Antonelli off the line. So he goes from P5 all the way up into a podium position, which, mind you, there was a lot more talk about the Constructors Championship this weekend because it was almost guaranteed a lock, especially after qualifying where McLaren was starting. But this is also incredibly important for Lando's Drivers' Championship. I mean, he only makes up 3 points on Oscar because Oscar finishes in 4th right behind him. But Lando just needs one result larger than kind of finishing one ahead. And if he stays on this trajectory, it's going to come down to the wire. He's hanging on to it.
I don't know. Like, I kind of disagree to a sense because, like, if Verstappen had done this, everyone would be like, oh, Verstappen, he's so aggressive. Like, you don't do that kind of move. And if it had been Leclerc, would have been like, oh, how, like, what crazy driving. What are they doing at Ferrari? Like, how dare he? And so I feel like that wasn't blown out of proportion. Or, like, I feel like it's always blown out of proportion when that happens. But to a degree, it's like Lando's causing issues when he probably shouldn't. But yeah, it was a good start. But also, don't get so close. But also, I think that like the drama within McLaren, I feel like it's overdone. Like, I just, for some reason, it feels like a real life Drive to Survive where I'm
It
like,
is.
all right, let's fucking relax. It's really not that big of a
I mean,
deal.
you would have
and
thought
they're just gonna drive, you know?
you
I think Lando
would have
gets
thought that
caught in the
Oscar
straight-
Piastri's car exploded into 1,000 different pieces, and he had to sprint the rest of the race. Like
Right.
that was the internet's reaction. And I mean, we've seen other instances, no contact, but certainly, you know, you could make the argument. Commentators certainly did last year when Oscar Piastri made the overtake on Lando in Monza, on the kind of the opening chicane there, and it compromised Lando in a way that, again, butterfly effect isn't this direct, but McLaren winds up botching that race, losing that race to Charles Leclerc, and a lot of commentators and analysts directly associated and around F1 were pointing at that as like McLaren should have handled that in a way. Lando needed to win that race to keep his drivers' championship hopes alive last year. And so it's one of those things where it's like we've seen from the FIA, we've seen from other drivers, you know, sometimes, especially on sheet tracks, lap one is the only chance to make up things. And we always criticize Lando for having terrible starts. He has the one good one. The slightest bit of contact, again, Oscar's race, not affected at all. And here we are. The whole internet is collapsing. And I'm going to pause my rant here because I want to rant about it more even later.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's all McLaren's own doing by setting these Papaya rules in the first place, and claiming that they have two number one drivers. Like they haven't picked a side this time. They're doing it to themselves.
Yeah.
After the race, I feel like Zach Brown was still like, "Oh yeah, it was a great race." Like he didn't have any issues with it. So
it's not going to change
who
anything.
knows? I mean,
it's not like their strategy is going to be completely different for the next race.
Yeah, I was gonna save this for my flop, but I'm just gonna do it now. We're doing everything out of order.
Do it. No, let's do flops first and then tops.
I still have more stuff to talk about in the race, but
Josh.
I guess I'll mix it in. But my flop is Papaya Rules because they are officially dead now that McLaren has won the championship. Like I don't even think they have to race clean anymore. I think it's just every man for himself. Go win the title.
No,
the
I think
title.
I mean, I guess in the sense, yeah, the Papaya Rules has been the biggest mess, but at the same time, I think, and I was explaining this to my dad, like we were talking about the race, and it's been, I think, objectively not as good a season this year as it was last year in terms of competitiveness. And hindsight 2020, we were really lucky with how many different winners and teams were competitive last year. But Papaya Rules definitely, I think, saved some of the season in terms of like, there's going to be 8 Drive to Survive episodes just on Papaya Rules. Like, it was the drama that...
I'm tired of that.
Sounds like I'm not watching that season.
Oh, I know, me neither.
I've seen so much McLaren this year.
Me neither. But it's like, if there wasn't Papaya Rules to talk about, there'd be some race weekends where it'd feel like there was literally absolutely nothing to talk about. But I think the flip side of your flop, Josh, is thank God the Constructors Championship is sealed now. Like, McLaren should have no reason to let their drivers fight it out. I know there's a whole section of people who are now desperately praying that Max Verstappen beats both drivers to the Drivers' Championship.
That would be awesome.
Which,
I'm rooting for that.
You know what? I'm down to see the drama late at the end. I think it's one of these things where the way the cookie is crumbled, that regardless of which McLaren driver wins, people will say it's undeserved, that they will find a way. And I think in some ways this is true. I'm not saying that that's like a crazy take, but in some ways Max Verstappen's performance and being so close in the championship that he is in a much worse car than what both McLaren drivers are currently driving is more impressive than either McLaren driver right now. Like, it was great when they were neck and neck, when they were storming off with races and fighting with each other. And now when they're not even winning races and they're stealing P3s and P4s off of each other, it's not impressive. Like, it's, and I know there's background speculation. McLaren stopped their development cycle before Red Bull did, before Mercedes did. But if anything, that's another failure on McLaren, the team, that it's like, you have this dominant first part of the season. If you want to be remembered as a dominant season, as a dominant team, then do it all the way through. I think we had talked about earlier this season, I think I had a track take. This McLaren car is going to be remembered as being more dominant than the Red Bull in 2023. That is so unbelievably not true. I think that other than the stats at the end of the year, the championship winners, I don't think that this McLaren car is going to be remembered in this kind of dominant fashion when they basically made it look way harder than it needed to be.
Well said.
So are we sticking with flops? Are we jumping back to track takes? Are we doing tops? What are we? I feel like
we can do whatever you want.
We've thrown everything out the window. I'm gonna toss something right back at you, Josh, because you're talking a lot of McLaren. I got to talk a little bit of Ferrari as we do.
I prefer not to, actually.
My track take is at the end of the season, Ferrari will be fighting Red Bull for P3 in the Constructors instead of fighting Mercedes for P2 in the Constructors.
Yeah.
Mercedes looks good.
My track take is almost the same as yours. I didn't say that they would be fighting Red Bull. I said that Red Bull will be P3 in the Constructors.
So you think Ferrari's going to be P4?
Wow.
Yeah, there are so many issues with this car. Like, obviously, Lewis's brakes were on fire. Charles was screaming the whole time about how they had to lift and coast for plank wear and the brakes and the tires. Like, the SF25 is maybe the worst car Ferrari has had in the past, like of this generation. Like, they've won race. Last year, there were like 4 or 5 races where there wasn't a Ferrari on the podium. Like, and we took such a step backwards in what should be like an easy year to take a step forwards going into a new development cycle. So, like, if the Ferrari next year is not a good car, Charles is going to leave. Like, there's no reason for him to stay. He said he's loyal to Ferrari to get a winning car, but
I don't think that's the case. I don't think he's going to leave.
I do. I think he's going to leave.
I think Hamilton would leave before Leclerc. What are you talking about?
They could both leave.
Hamilton would just straight up retire.
I think we're over exaggerating one bad season.
That's what this is. It's overreaction Monday.
That's like
go.
Like the Chiefs suck this year, so Mahomes is gonna leave. Like
I think Josh, you almost hit. I think you almost found the nugget in there. Is Ferrari was within a race of winning the Constructors Championship last year, and obviously they had some inconsistencies. They make a bunch of changes to their car. Everybody's expecting this year to be a McLaren versus Ferrari battle, pick up where we left off. It's not. Ferrari makes a bunch of changes to their car in theory to make next year's car better in the new regulations. If Ferrari is not the front runner or doesn't have a realistic shot at either the Constructors or the Drivers' Championship next year, this year's car, 2025, has to go down as one of Ferrari's biggest failures in modern times because they threw away the chance to go for the Constructors in the current regulations, and it didn't benefit them in the future regulations. So all of your gamble would have failed. You would have bet all your money on black at roulette, and it would have come up straight.
But we're going to say the same thing for every other team. Like, next year's so different, and everyone's putting their development towards next year.
Ferrari had the most to lose relative to where they were in the Constructors last year.
Also,
I think we're overhyping that one team is going to be good every single year. Like, there are some years where some teams are going to have to suck. Like, that's just the nature of sports. So I just feel like this is just a down year. Like, I look at it from like an NBA perspective, just like a development year, and we just got to get through it. And then next year, Ferrari will probably be back up at the top. Like, it's just cyclical. I don't think that we're really seeing like this overhaul of Ferrari and that it's going to be completely, it's going to be the end of an era. Like, I think it's just, they just having a sucky year, and next year will be fine.
Ferrari has been so bad. I've been debating jumping ship onto Cadillac. Like, just starting fresh.
They're not the Aston Martin. Like,
they're not
Alpine.
I'd rather be an Aston Martin or an
Alpine. No, you would not. That's a lie, Josh. That's a lie.
No, here's the problem.
Don't be going there.
They have such high expectations all the time, and they always just like fall short of them, no matter what. Like, every race, P2, Ferrari's always first and second every single weekend, and everyone's like, "Don't touch the car, don't do anything." And then we do this sort of thing, and like, there's no reason we should be as bad as we are.
But last year you were happy with the car. Last year it was great.
Yeah. And we should be better.
So next year
McLaren was good
fine.
last year, and they got better.
Would you just wait till next year and see how it goes?
Before you switch to Cadillac, can I get you a half Ferrari, half Atlanta Falcons next year as our year sweatshirt?
That would be so sad.
Oh my.
Next year is our year, though. Let's go, Ferrari.
Trademark it, baby. Matt,
I'm
you've
sorry,
been
I thought you
hiding.
were going to be a Cadillac fan. My bad, Josh.
No, I've
Matt,
been debating.
you've been hiding in the corner. Let's get to your track take. What did you take away from the race under the lights? The original race under the lights.
Yeah, I am going to green flag both of the Ferrari hate week takes so far. I also had that they will finish fourth in the constructors. But I think it goes even a step further. I think they'll be the only top 4 team not to win a Grand Prix this season. And obviously, if they're number 4, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But it's something where even Charles has doubts that they'll be able to make it there. I was going to say, Lewis might not find the podium this season, but I'm actually really hopeful that still does happen. Even as a McLaren fan, I would love to see Lewis on the podium in a Ferrari. It probably won't.
This car's not good enough for a podium.
But that's not a hill I'm going to die on. I will say that Ferrari, I just don't think they have it in them to win a Grand Prix this season. It's going to take some catastrophic failures up front if they're going to win.
Yikes. I mean, I'll flip it right back because you mentioned Hamilton in there. Kind of get everybody's take. I'm going to go green flag to what I'm about to say, but Carlos Sainz is going to finish with a podium and Hamilton is not in 2025.
Yeah, that's likely.
That's unfortunate, but
If that was a hot
crazy.
take, I would say that was bell pepper status.
Not even. That's like
you
haven't
only
even
because
planted
Carlos
the
already
pepper
has
plant.
his podium. Like if
Exactly.
If this
And
is
it's
before
not like
Carlos got his
Hamilton's
podium,
been
it
up
would be
there
crazy.
fighting. Although I favorite driver, he hasn't. It's just not his year. Again, it's fine. Next year, he'll get it.
he should have gotten it
Way
for
more
Roscoe.
optimistic.
I know.
about next year.
Yeah.
I know you guys
R.I.P.
touched on
Roscoe.
it, the very sad news of Roscoe, his beloved dog, passing away. And I mean, you don't wish that on anybody. Losing a pet has got to be the worst thing that exists on Earth. All they do is love you. I thought it was going to give Lewis the energy. It actually gave him so much energy in his right foot that he blew through the brakes of his car.
That would definitely be his left foot. But yeah.
Or I guess they're not driving Mazda CX-5s where they're using one foot for both pedals.
They're not.
That's certainly the truth. Okay, left foot it is, but we hinted at it earlier. Lewis Hamilton has to pick up the penalty for track limits because he has to cut all the corners, because when chasing down Kimi Antonelli on a set of softs, he literally burns through his brakes and just loses his brakes at the end of the race, which I feel like it was already Ferrari was trying to get some moral victory, at least finish ahead of one of the Mercedes. As Josh mentioned, Kimi Antonelli finishes in 5th, Leclerc 6th, Hamilton with the penalty in 8th. It just went from bad to worse because at one point you're holding 4th and 6th, even if you drop to 5th and 6th, excuse me, even if you drop a little bit further. Then with the penalty, you wind up behind an Aston Martin with one of your cars. Just a mess, but I guess we can only rip on Josh's team for so long. J9, you're the last with a track take. Before we jump into the flops first, as you called, we'll go flops first, but to round out the track takes, what'd you get?
I think this was the last race of the season where someone other than McLaren wins. I think that the rest of the season is going to just be McLaren. It's just going to be a classic. They're not going to be very exciting. And we're going to end the season with woo, McLaren. And then we're all looking forward to the next season. I think this was the last exciting one that we have to look forward to, which sounds really pessimistic, but maybe it's because on the inside, I just want the season to be over because now I don't care because I don't like McLaren. Obviously, I'm rooting for Max. I really like the track take that Max is going to win the Drivers' Championship. I would love for that to happen, but I just don't think it's realistic at this point. I think it's just going to be the McLaren show for the rest of the season, and then we all move on very quickly too, because I think that next season starts a new era. So, yeah. I'm bringing some pessimism to this.
I'm going to red flag that because I think the McLarens are going to crash each other out of some race. I think
Again,
it's just
we're
going to be full-on
overhyping
carnage.
it. Again, we're overhyping it. I think they won't be
Papaya
that.
rules,
It
guys.
doesn't matter.
Papaya rules.
Papaya
Don't
rules.
They're dead.
They're
They're dead.
We're overhyping it. It's too much. Like,
Can
it's not going to happen.
McLaren's crashing each other out as the path to a Ferrari podium.
They're going to be just fine. There's going to be no drama. And my dog agrees. She's looking and she said, yeah, she green flagged it. So
can I set a new precedent in our track takes? I'm going to call a black and white flag on this. Don't jinx us. Just don't jinx us.
Yeah, it should be good.
I'm a red flag that. I'm a red flag.
It's your take.
No.
I'm gonna red flag the take as well. I actually think it's more likely that McLaren wins no more races than they win all of the races. I think that
Wow.
whatever
I can't wait
happened
for
the
the
first
next one.
half, first 2/3 of the season, like it just, again, we're talking about like both of the last two races, both Baku and Singapore, two street circuits, but very different street circuits. And it's not even
Exactly.
like, oh,
Different
McLaren,
than what just currently happened.
but it's not even like, oh, McLaren just missed out. Like they weren't even that close for pretty much the entirety of qualifying for the race itself. They were never really fighting for the wins. And I'm getting a little distracted because Josh is framing out
my
over
camera
here.
it's so messed up. It always disconnects.
It's a Ferrari branded camera. You heard it here
Yeah.
first. But it happens. We keep shitting on Ferrari. We keep shitting on other people. We already heard one flop. We might as well keep the flops going. Matt, what is your flop?
Yeah, so I had also said Papaya Rules, but I've got a backup in the bag. I'm going with Fernando Alonso's pit crew. I mean, we could go Ferrari. The race pace wasn't there. But I just thought, dang, Alonso's finally getting a shot to just do awesome. I mean, he was within striking distance of a possible podium, and a 9.2 second stop put him down to P15.
It exploded.
Yeah, it's not the strongest flop out there. It's not the worst thing that happened this race by any means, but I just thought that was really unfortunate because even though I think I had him at P10, I was really excited to see him possibly get back onto that podium, having had his success here in 2008, 2010. So just a bit of a letdown to see one of the legends of the sport not able to capitalize on something because of a team mistake.
What about you, J9?
All laps beside the first one.
Oh my.
Damn. How'd you give this a
Wow.
5 out of 10?
So
Because someone other than McLaren won. But, like, it just wasn't that exciting. So I'm going to go with all laps besides the first one.
see, my problem is that I almost had the TV crew as my flop because there were battles going on. Sainz, his overtakes to get up to 10th didn't show any of them live. Alonso and Hamilton were going at it for a while. Didn't show that live at all. Like the only thing they showed was McLaren, and I think that's why the race appeared so boring. But like everyone online is talking about like, oh, they didn't show these things at all, and it's spot on. And the TV broadcast crew is my second flop.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
that
could have a
was-
whole
yeah.
episode about how TV broadcast can make or break any sport.
I mean,
That
I was
would be
about
an
to
interesting-
100% lock that in for mine because, yeah. What about like I had to watch online replays of Hamilton running over all of the corners because his brakes had failed, and Alonso getting pissed and charging back. We didn't even get to really see Hamilton's initial charge on Kimi Antonelli that broke his brakes. Carlos Sainz, nowhere to be found. Ollie Behrman in a Haas in P9, and I think he got 5 seconds of screen time the entire race. Like, it was... But don't worry, we saw everybody's girlfriends for about 35 minutes, so that
Thank
was
God.
super, super
Papaya
awesome.
Rules also. So
I also want to say, because Josh, you mentioned
Oh,
earlier, the other thing I had written down as a potential flop, you said you might be switching to Cadillac. I think... And I got to stop doing this. I got to stop reading comment sections on like McLaren posts and like
That'll
subreddits and
do
stuff.
it.
I think this is the closest I've ever been to switching away from McLaren because holy shit. Again, we just won the Constructors Championship back to back. People bitch when the McLarens aren't fighting, and then people bitch when the McLarens are fighting. So I don't know what people want anymore. But I think for now, I'm going to be happy. I've said it all along. I'm a McLaren fan over a driver fan. There is a huge team aspect to this sport. Literally over 1,000 people work on some of these teams. And fun fact, most of the employees, not the ones you've ever heard of, their bonuses are dependent on constructors' results. So all the McLaren employees getting paid, shout out them. It's awesome for them. They're happy as a team. The team is
that
happy
your
as a
top?
team. And yet as fans, and no, the fans are horrible. The online fans, get a life, people. Jeez Louise.
Oof.
Like, it's crazy.
You are
people,
one of the online fans. You are the media.
I have
get
You're
never
a
life,
podcaster.
man.
I have never typed in a comment section. I have
You should.
liked
That would
I have
grow
liked
the
a couple of
podcast.
comments of people fighting back against this sort of stupid thing, but it's like I just want to support McLaren. Obviously I support Lando, but I also support Oscar. Why? Because he's also a McLaren driver. I didn't realize it was that hard. But I'm glad we started with flops first. I need to get that out. I was fired up. I was ready for this podcast. But we get to end on a little bit of a high note. Everybody, deep breath in, deep breath out. If COVID allows it, I don't know everybody's lung capacity right now, but
Oof.
we are getting into our tops. We're ending on a high note. Josh, I feel like your team's gotten ragged on the most, so we'll let you kind of get into the good space first.
Yeah, when I was writing stuff down, first thing I wrote was Kimi Antonelli. Then second thing I wrote was George Russell, and I'm like, oh wait, maybe I should just do Mercedes as a whole. Kimi Antonelli, back-to-back top 5 finishes, because he had a huge downturn in like the middle of the season. I'm glad he's finally picking it back up. And Russell was like, this was an easy dub for him after keeping the lead on the first lap, and then he kind of just cruised to the finish. It got like a little bit closer in the middle, but like he really had no concerns the entire race. Good lap from him on quali, and
yeah, shout out
conversion.
both of his quali laps.
Yeah.
He broke the track record by like over half a second. Absolutely nuts.
And it's also, I feel like the Mercedes is known for doing well in cool weather, but like this is Singapore, it's not cold there, so shout out Mercedes.
I'll go right behind that and say, shout out Max Verstappen. I feel like he has consistently been up at the top on the podium, second or third. I guess 2 races ago he was first, but he's just been I would say he's been very consistent this season of just getting solid points. He's not always, first, but he's not always last, and nowhere near that. So I got to give it to him. I think he's been kind of under the radar this season as not the best because we're all focused on McLaren. And he's just been, again, now he's still in the chance for a driver's championship. And I think that that's really big for him. So shout out Verstappen.
I guess I'm going to have to dig out my bag of tricks because I keep going after and getting my tops and flops taken. But I'll stick with the same kind of lines that I went with my flop. I think Fernando Alonso just, good job taking it from P15 to finishing P7 in the race. Just working his ass off, to be honest. And again, I'm not mad at all that I lost that point on the P10 prediction. I would have loved to see him score even more points, not because I like Aston Martin, but I think Fernando's a good guy. He's he's got great racecraft, and he finally was starting to show that he could take this green tractor within that top, 5-6 spots. So good job, Fernando, fighting back after that just abysmal pit stop. Again, I don't mean to rag on the pit crew. I know it's not an easy job, but no, he made the most of it.
I feel like pit crews, especially with some of McLaren's slow stops, are unfortunately taking some of the spotlight they don't want. But you didn't even mention, because he drove so well, but right after the terrible pit stop, his engineer reminded him what lap he was, and Fernando Alonso threatened to disconnect his radio for the rest of the race because he was not having it. But he was able to fight all the way back. Credit to him. I've highlighted Lando a little bit. I'm not saying he's my top. I'm going to go a little curveball. I'm going to say the unwell drivers, because if you remember from Baku, George Russell was sick, went from P5 in qualifying to P2 in the race. Lando was sick in Singapore and went from P5 to P3. So we made the joke in the past with maybe you just need to take your appendix out to win a race. Now maybe it's just you got to get a little bit of sickness. Like Josh and I did. Maybe we're going to win the next race, Josh. You and I. We got it.
Doubtful.
I'll do the brakes. I'll do the brakes and the gas. You do the steering. I'm sure we got it great. Although I'm just realizing that my head will be submerged then, and I will have no vision while we're pulling G's. So I'm sure I will go unconscious very quickly. But I'm basically unconscious in the Predictors Championship. It's not going great for me.
No.
I know we hinted at some of the picks, some of the good ones at least, but might as well at the end of the race weekend let us know, Josh, where do we stand? We're coming up on the end of the season. We now have a week off before we fly all the way across the world from Singapore to Austin, Texas. So we are quite truly in the home stretch, but setting the stage perfectly. How are we looking in the Predictors Championship?
Well, with Matt getting his hot take right, we have a new leader in the Predictors Championship. Matt has overtaken me by 1 point. Matt, you have 36. I have 35. J9, 25. And Ben still lagging behind with 19. But this is a problem. I was out to a very early lead. I thought it was going to be insurmountable, and it has been surmounted. So
should I, instead of the half Ferrari, half Falcon sweatshirt, should I do a half Ferrari, half Josh sweatshirt, and it says next year is our year?
Yeah.
Is it too early for that?
I still got some races to come back here.
We will certainly have to wait and see, though. As we mentioned, there's a week off because I guess you can't just snap your fingers and go halfway around the world, although the Formula One teams seem to do it every year, month in, month out. But we head to Austin, Texas next. Yeah, there's 3 Grand Prix in the United States of America, but this is the United States Grand Prix, the original, at least of the 3 that are on the current calendar. And in my opinion, it is certainly the best. I will leave it to you 3 to decide whether that is true or not. But as always, before that race, we will give our predictions yet again. It is a sprint race this time in Austin. We haven't had one of those in a minute. Maybe we need to dust off the sprint race rules. But Josh, you were mentioning you need to catch back up. There's a couple more points at stake in the Predictors Championship because of the sprint weekend. So you will not want to miss it. You'll want to tune in. As we mentioned, the Drivers' Championship also technically still getting tighter, and is now there a 3rd challenger in there. We will just have to wait and see. But until then, everybody, stay speedy. Goodbye.